Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good. I'm good. Good to be with you.
That's awesome to hear. I absolutely loved I Can Only Imagine too, so I'm really excited to chat with you.
Yeah.
Um, but I hear that you were initially hesitant to come back and co-direct the sequel. What what were you hesitant about, and then what brought you back?
I was so afraid up front of it feeling like a gimmick. I just the first movie was kind of complete and I loved it and I loved everything about telling that story, but it was kind of self-contained, of once, Bart saw that vision of his father standing up and applauding him. I was like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Mhm.
But both Bart in real life and then Brent McCorkle, who co-directed and wrote this one, he came to me and just like, I think there's more story to tell. And I drug my feet. I was like, nope, 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 until they were like sitting there and they walked me through. They're like, have you heard what happened about behind the song, Even If, and Bart's struggle as a father, and Tim Timmons kind of as this spiritual guide to him finding his son again. And as they walked me through it, it was just a mirror image of what Bart went through in the first movie, except now he's the father that's struggling. And I'm like, huh. They're like, it's kind of like a spiritual sequel to I Can Only Imagine. I was like, no, that's the literal sequel. I was like, we can get that greenlit tomorrow. And so I told Brent, I was like, hey, man, you're one of my favorite filmmakers on the planet. I love what you did with Jesus Revolution with my brother. I was like, if you want to direct this one, I'll produce it. But if you want, I'd love to finish the journey together. And so we co-directed it. And from start to finish, it was one of the most magic things I've been a part of.
I love that. Um, so yeah, you directed this one with Brent instead of your brother. Was there anything different that you two did when approaching the filming process that you didn't quite do with the first one?
Brent, yeah, it was different because Brent leads with his emotion, with his feelings. And Brent is one of my favorite filmmakers. I've been friends with him for 15 years. I got to know him when I saw his very first film, Unconditional, and you know, talked to the producers every afterwards, and I was like, "Where's your creative? I'd love to talk to him." This same guy wrote, directed, edited, did the music scoring for it, like did everything for it. And they were like, "Ah, he did the work for us, but it's really about our idea." And I was like, your idea is great, but your filmmaker is incredible. And so I reached out to him on Facebook that night. I was like, I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know that you've got a fan. And I love your storytelling sensibilities are great. And so we struck up a friendship there, and then we ended up collaborating together. That he co-edited my movies Woodlawn, and then both wrote, co-edited, and scored the first I Can Only Imagine. And then he went on to co-direct with my brother on Jesus Revolution. So on this one, coming back to it, and us kind of getting to finally collaborate as equals on a film set was awesome. And so there's moments that I just got to sit back at the monitor and eat popcorn and watch him discover something that I would have never discovered on my own. And then my sensibilities, I'd find something that maybe he didn't see. And so we have a no ego policy here. It's just best idea wins, and it's friction with respect. And so as a whole, when we got to the last scene that we filmed with Dennis Quaid and his moment to come back, we sat by that campfire, by that fire in a barrel in those two seats, and we knew at that point, okay, we've just completed a really good movie, and it was cool to sit and look across the fire at a filmmaker I respect and say we got a chance to do this together.
That's awesome. I can only imagine just the how great that felt.
It was a cool feeling. Like you can tell it on a film set, like and it's an imperfect science. Like making a movie, like you hope to make something really special and you have every intention of it and you fight to make it great. But sometimes that comes willingly and sometimes it comes by coercion. Like you can't predict how hard it is to will, the story. I mean, you get a sense when it's good on the page and you've cast it well, but like there's other things that just get thrown at you and it's just you don't know if you're making a good movie or not. But it's really awesome to be on a set where everybody looks around on that final day and they're smiling and they're like, we just were part of something special. And on this one, that moment with Dennis Quaid and John Michael Finley sitting on that set, and It's like time had stood still. It's like we hadn't even left the set of the first movie. And there was a lot of love on the set, and just I think everybody felt, okay, we did the story justice. It wasn't a gimmick. It deserved to be told. And I think it gives people a lot of hope in a way they didn't expect.
I'd agree. I'd agree. It is a very, very hopeful feeling. What was it like getting the cast back together and then adding some of the new faces like Sammy and Milo?
It was fun. With John Michael Finley that plays Bart, he's a Broadway actor and dabbles in film, but does a little bit of both. And the problem with John Michael is he's so talented in everything he does that he can jump from any form of the arts, and does all his own singing, and it's just incredible. But I called him and I said, "Listen, we're doing the sequel to I Can Only Imagine. There's two ways that this goes down. Either you say yes to me, or I drive to New Jersey, I kidnap you, and then you say yes to me." So I didn't really give him an option to not be a part of it, but I fought really hard to get as many of the originals back together. And so the band with Jason Berkey and then bringing Mark Furs back over from Australia. We fought really hard. Like Jason Berkey, who plays Mike in the band, his wife had a baby like literally the week before we started filming. So we were like, hey, we'll hire nannies, we'll bring your whole family from Atlanta to Nashville. Like it was an experience, but it was just really important for that continuity. And I think that the chemistry between the band was really, really special. And then, Trace Adkins, who's somebody that I adore and is a dear friend, and having him back as that gentle giant is awesome. And then we added some new faces. I mean, I think Sophie Skelton taking over the role of Shannon from Madeline Carroll. I love both actresses, but we wanted to kind of mature the character a little bit, and kind of her journey is now a mom to a teenager, and so we felt like it ended up being that Sophie was the better fit for that, and Madeline wasn't able to do the movie.
Mhm.
But Sophie was just she did a really delicate dance that I was so impressed with. Is she watched all the things that Madeline had created in the character and absolutely honored her, because she wanted to make sure like this, I'm finishing a character that somebody else started. And so she definitely kept it in the world of what Madeline had created, but then she added her own little flair to it, and it was so grounded and so textured, had such depth, and she's really the backbone of the story. And so I was proud of that. And then with Milo Ventimiglia and then Sammy, Milo in particular was just that guy. He's the one that steals the show. Tim Timmons is the one that nobody sees coming, and Milo fully committed to it, including shaving his head, which was one of the more stressful days of my life, where it's like you take one of the most popular characters on a TV show from Gilmore Girls, that's one of the better looking dudes on the planet, and you shave his head. Like that day could be really bad, but fortunately he's every bit as good looking with no hair, which is kind of infuriating. But uh he fully committed to learning the instruments he needed to do, and learning the music, and really getting the heart of Tim as this kind of sad clown, this lovable kind of goofball, and that ends up being the heart of the story. And then Sammy as a new face, and his singing is incredible. And Sammy really just is like a mixture of Zac Efron and Tom Holland. He's just so lovable. So top to bottom, this cast had zero weaklings. It was so good.
No, it was incredible. Unfortunately, I am out of time, but I swear I could ask you 100 more questions if I had the ability. But thank you so much for chatting. Again, I love the film, and I'm looking forward to what you do next.
That means a lot, Beth. I appreciate you, friend.